Good evening, everyone. I'll be talking about phacotrap with non-toric monofocal IOL. So these eyes with pecs, they're generally myopic. They have large axial length. Large axial length means larger capsular bag, and the IOL might rotate on post-op. Also, they are non-dilating pupil. We tend to make a smaller axis. Smaller axis again means capsular phimosis and post-op. Again, risk factor for rotation. So why monofocal? Poor dilating pupil, zonular weakness, fragile PC. We need to convert. We might need to convert to SICS intra-op, and we can always correct astigmatism using laser vision correction. So, in case of polydilating pupil, uh, there is limited visualization. There can be CCC which is not centered. We might leave cortical matter behind. The capsular phimosis can occur. While implanting IOL, we might not be able to visualize the three dots at our axis, all those leading to problem in the post-op. Zonular weakness, we know in pecs, the weakness is progressive. At the time of surgery, there might not be any weakness, but if there is even a small dialysis, we can go ahead with monofocal and monofocal with CTR, but a toric with CTR is not possible. Also, if the weakness is progressive and in late when the IOL subluxates or dislocates, a mild subluxation with non-toric IOL is still manageable when the IOL is covering the visual axis, but with toric IOL, it will create a lot of problem. If it dislocates, you can pick up the lens with the bag complex and fix it, which is again not possible with a toric IOL. Fragile PC, suppose intraop rent happen, you can always go ahead with non-toric IOL, you cannot put a toric IOL. Many a times we would like to convert it to SICS because we feel going ahead with phaco might create problem. In that case, though we know that frowning incision will create minimal astigmatism, but some amount of astigmatism will be created, and a preoperative calculated axis might differ. So always you can assess if there is zonulopathy or not, but there are some signs which will come to know intra-op only. Like spider sign, when you pinch the anterior capsule, you find the wrinkles on the anterior capsule. When you begin the rhexis, the bag might give you curved lines. Sometimes after you have done phaco, there might be a straight line sign that indicates that there is a focal zonular dialysis. Obviously, in these cases, I'll not go ahead with the toric IOL because they will rotate in post-op. Again, emphasizing that PEX is a progressive zonular weakness. Many a times we see 15 years, 20 years down the line, the IOL bag complex goes into the vitreous cavity. In that case, you can go ahead with pars plana vitrectomy, and the same lens with the bag complex can be fixed. You need not explant the lens, but if it's a toric IOL, the lens has to be explanted. Another point is you can always go ahead with a flax in PEX, which will be an easy surgery, but then in case of a non-dilating pupil, the flax fails. Now, if I do a phaco trab, I'll never go with a toric IOL because I can calculate my SIA in case of a plain phaco where it's a robotic surgery, my 2.2 is fixed, everything is fixed. But trab, it's different for different individuals. You have a very narrow window, a low IOP is a problem, a high IOP is a problem. So you have to decide intraop, how many sutures, what sutures, tight sutures. So I cannot calculate a SI in case of trab. So tight sutures, excessive cautery, sclerotomy, all creates astigmatism. It's also said, in case of post-trab cases, when the IOP is low and AC is shallow, the IOL tends to rotate. In case of overfiltering bleb, again, I'll not prefer a toric IOL. Post-trab, we advise our patients for bleb massage so that the channel keep filtering. I'll not advise a toric IOL. So they say that in toric IOL, it stabilizes in 1 month or 3 month time, but research say that against the rule astigmatism in trab patients go as long as 12 months for stabilization. Using MMC is a must for trab. Though using MMC will not using MMC will not create astigmatism, but I'll not go ahead in a TRAB patient without using MMC. So I'll like to put an end to debate that you can put a toric IOL in case of a PEX patient, but you have so many checklists to tick on. Once you go ahead with all the ticks, you can put toric IOL, but then you have to change your diagnosis. The patient does not become a PEX patient at the last. So I like to choose the simpler path and give better result to the patient. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done. Happy Spygiri. And our expert panel is none other than Dr. Sharon D'Souza. She is Senior Consultant Cataract and Refractive in Narayana Netralaya. So let's take her expert opinion.
Good evening, everyone. Actually, it's a great pleasure to always be in Dr. Bharti's IC. As always, it's a packed hall, and it shows what interesting topics we have today to discuss. And these are all very clinically relevant topics. Great presentations by both. So, as Dr. Bharti also showed, and her opponent also showed, the evaluation is very, as you said, your last slide pretty much summed it all. There are a lot of check boxes. It's not that you can just decide, okay, it's another cataract case, and there is astigmatism, so I will do a toric. It doesn't work like that. There are a lot of check boxes that you need to do, as shown that the pre-operative evaluation, you have to assess if there is a lot of zonular weakness. Obviously, that would not be a case that you would primarily do it. So that is a pre-operative. That's not a decision you're taking intraoperatively, nor is it a blanket rule that everyone who has pseudoexfoliation, you will not do a toric. So it doesn't work like that. Next, the intraoperative assessment. Everyone is a very skilled surgeon here. So intraoperatively also, it's not a hard and fast key. I decided I will put a toric, so I have to put in a toric. It doesn't work. If things change, you have a bag dehiscence or you have a rupture in the PC, obviously you can always modify your plan. And here, especially in these kind of complicated situations, counseling the patient pre-operatively itself about their existing condition. Because now a lot of patients come with the mindset, cataract, I mean, a lot of it is done by us. Cataract is a very easy surgery, we will finish it, I'll see tomorrow 100% 6/6. That is their expectation. And that is not true for everyone, and it is up to us to explain to them pre-operatively what is different in their eye and what could be different in their outcome and what their expectation should be there, right? So we always say, under promise, over deliver. This is one of those situations where it's very important to counsel. The next thing is that about SIA, very, very important, and we've all calculated our SIAs over time, but that is the point. These surgeries, when you are wanting to put a toric IOL in a complicated eye, it is obviously someone who has done it for many years. You are sure of your SIA, you are sure of your outcomes, or at least in most cases, and then you are making the decision to do. One slide which you put, the simplest route. The simplest route need not always be the best route. We are looking at what is the best outcome for a patient, and that outcome is channelized or customized to that patient. It is not necessary for 100% patients. Some patient may not want a toric IOL. They may be okay saying, "Nahi, do what you think is safest in your hand." Right? So that there are multiple decisions that we take based on each patient. There's never a right or wrong. We are always, there's so many decisions to make. But that checklist slide is what sums it up. Be very, very careful on each of those checks.
Thank you.